Welcome to today's episode. If you've ever felt like anxiety takes over when you're alone, know that you're not alone in that experience. Whether you're a young adult trying to navigate life's changes or a parent managing the weight of responsibilities, anxiety often shows up in ways we don't always expect. But here's the truth: anxiety doesn't define you. It's something you can manage, not something that controls who you are. In this episode, we'll break down 5 common things people with generalized anxiety do when they're alone and, more importantly, how you can cope with them. Let's get started. One of the biggest struggles with anxiety is overthinking. When you're alone, your mind starts racing, playing out scenarios, analyzing past conversations, and worrying about the future. Every little decision feels like it has life-altering consequences. Did I say the wrong thing? What if I mess up? I've been there. I remember replaying a conversation I had with a colleague for hours, convinced I had said something wrong, even though they smiled and nodded the entire time. It wasn't until I stopped and told myself, this is anxiety, not reality, that I was able to let go. That moment was a reminder that overthinking doesn't help, it only heightens the anxiety. If you find yourself stuck in an overthinking spiral, here's a tip: pause and ground yourself. Focus on your breath, or look around and name 5 things you can see or hear. The goal is to interrupt the cycle and bring your attention back to the present. Remember, you don't need to have all the answers right now. Let the thoughts pass without attaching too much meaning to them. Another common thing people with anxiety do when they're alone is isolate themselves. Anxiety makes us feel like we're too much for others, so we retreat. Whether it's avoiding social gatherings or canceling plans, isolating may seem like a way to cope, but it often just strengthens the anxiety. I've talked to many young adults who, when their anxiety flares up, feel like it's easier to stay home and avoid social situations. But isolation can become a trap. It gives you space from the world, but it also reinforces the idea that anxiety is something you need to hide from. If you find yourself isolating, start small. Reach out to a friend, even if it's just a text or a quick call. Let someone know how you're feeling. Connection is a powerful antidote to the isolation anxiety can cause. It's about finding balance, recognizing when you need space, but also when it's time to reconnect. When anxiety creeps in, it often leads people to try to regain control in small ways. For example, you might start excessively organizing your space, checking your phone repeatedly, or micromanaging every detail of your day. These behaviors give us the illusion of control in a world that feels unpredictable. I know for me, when anxiety was at its peak, I'd spend hours rearranging my apartment. I thought that if I could just get everything perfect on the outside, maybe I'd feel calmer on the inside. But I realized that this was just a distraction, it didn't address the underlying anxiety. If you notice yourself trying to control everything around you, take a step back. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding? It might not be about your environment, it might be about facing your anxiety directly. Sometimes, the best way to regain control is by accepting what you can't control and focusing on how you can manage your emotional response to it. Anxiety is draining. The constant state of alertness can leave you feeling exhausted, even when you haven't done anything physically taxing. Mentally, you might feel drained from all the overthinking, and physically, your body is always in a state of tension. That exhaustion can make everything feel like it's too much to handle. Parents especially face this kind of exhaustion. I've spoken with parents who are balancing their jobs, their kids, and their own mental health, and anxiety only amplifies that stress. They feel like there's no time for themselves, no space to recharge. They end up running on empty. Here's the thing: rest is not a luxury, it's a necessity. If you're feeling burned out, don't ignore it. Take small moments to recharge. Whether it's taking a nap, stepping outside for a walk, or doing a few minutes of deep breathing, self-care is essential for managing anxiety. Your body needs time to reset, and so does your mind. Finally, a major fear that often arises when dealing with anxiety is the fear of feeling stuck. People with anxiety often feel like they're trapped in a cycle they can't break. You might ask yourself, will I always feel this way? The fear of being stuck can paralyze us, making it even harder to move forward. I remember thinking that my anxiety would always hold me back. That no matter what I did, it would always control my decisions. But the truth is, anxiety is manageable. It takes time, yes, but the key is not letting it define your every move. When you feel stuck, remember that it's just a moment in time. It doesn't last forever, and it doesn't have to control your future. If you're feeling stuck, it's important to remind yourself that small steps forward still count. Seek support, whether that's from a therapist, a friend, or even online communities. Set one small goal at a time, and recognize that progress doesn't always look like big leaps. It's okay to take it one step at a time. So, what's the key takeaway from today's episode? Anxiety doesn't define you. It's a part of your journey, but it doesn't have to be your entire story. Whether you're overthinking, isolating, seeking control, feeling exhausted, or trapped by fear, know that these behaviors don't have to control your life. You have the power to manage your anxiety in ways that work for you. Take one step today. Whether that's reaching out for support, taking a moment to breathe, or simply acknowledging that anxiety is just one part of who you are. You are not defined by your anxiety, and you don't have to let it run the show. If this episode resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. And don't forget to leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts, or share how you cope with anxiety when you're alone. Join the conversation and let others know they're not alone in this journey. Thank you for listening to today's episode. Remember, you're not alone, and you are so much more than your anxiety.